Greetings, YouTube and traditional Catholics out there. This is Sergio Becerra II here again. Today, I want to do something a little different than doing a Bible study video. If you're a traditionalist Catholic and you attend the Latin Mass and you don't believe and totally reject the teachings of the heretical Vatican II sect, so here's some things that I came up with if I were the Holy Father. Now, I don't mean to sound like arrogant or stubborn or anything like that. Foolish. No. These are just suggestions that I want to bring up here. I know if I were Pope, there are things I would do to change the church, to get back into true tradition and get some reforms done. Now, here's some things that I would do. Before I even start, I know I'm not a priest or anything like that, but I'm just saying if I had any kind of way or some sort of, or any kind of support to become the Holy Father, I would do anything necessary to get the church back on its feet again. I'm just saying, I know I'm not a priest, but if I had any kind of way whatsoever to reach the highest position in the world, anything whatsoever, I'm just saying, I would get the church totally fixed. Number one, if I were Pope, my pontificate name would be Pope Gregory the 17th. That's a name that has not been used in a long, long time, so I think I would choose that name wisely. And reason why I would choose Gregory, well, because we've had at least 3 Pope Gregorys that have become saints. That would be Gregory the First, Gregory the Second, Gregory the Third, Gregory the Seventh, but also in memory of the 16th Pope Gregory, who was not a saint, but very, very wise and intelligent, I would say, in my opinion. So I would choose to become the 17th Pope Gregory. Next, restore the papal coronation and remove the papal inauguration. First of all, I don't think that the coronation should have not ended with the last, anti-Pope Paul VI was the last illegitimate pope to hold the coronation and to use the papal tiara, which I think it was a mistake. And also him giving up his tiara, well, he gave it away to give it away for the benefit of the poor. That's why his tiara is sitting in the museum of the Basilica in Washington, D.C. Restore the papal tiara, which is restoring the full authority and power of the Pope. I would, if I were Pope, not only would have the coronation restored, I would also wear the papal tiara. In fact, honestly, I would love to use the one of the 2 silver papal tiaras given to Pope Leo XIII. One of them was given to him by the faithful of Paris, and the other by the faithful of Bologna. The one given him to the the tiara given to Leo XIII by the people of Bologna, I would use that one, because that one was later used by St. Pius X in his coronation. I know there's a picture of him wearing it, but I would wear that one. Just a thought, just so you know. Also, next one, call for a new ecumenical council. I would call for a new ecumenical council in order to get the church back on its feet again, and time to take things very seriously once and for all. Now, we're all familiar with the Council of Florence. as we all know, started in the mid 15th century by Pope Eugene IV, in which he states there is no salvation outside the Roman Church. Now, for the council I would call will be the Second Council of Florence. I prefer Florence because what the Council of Florence had taught. Okay, here's some things to do in order to get the church back on its feet. Abolish all of the teachings of the heretical Second Vatican Council and restore the church to traditional church teachings and traditional catechism. Therefore, whatever teachings or catechism that was taught at the beginning of Vatican II, wipe it away, return back to traditional church teachings and the catechism in general. Restore the traditional Latin Mass and the traditional Roman Rite. The current abominable heretical Mass of the Second Vatican Council needs to be done away with completely. We need to bring back the Latin Mass completely, all over the world, wherever the faith exists. As we all know, that the Mass of the Second Vatican Council is known as Novus Ordo. Now, if anybody that says they're Catholic but they attend the Novus Ordo Mass, here's the thing about that Mass. Number one, when the priest does the Eucharist, instead of facing away from the people and looking up at the crucifix, basically they're facing away from the crucifix and looking directly at the people. Because in the actual Mass itself, the Latin Mass, when the priest does the Eucharist, you have to face away from the people but look directly up at the crucifix. Why? Because you're looking directly at God entirely when the priest does the Eucharist with the communion bread and wine. But the priests of the Novus Ordo Mass that face away from the crucifix and look directly at the people, you're facing away from God. That's the problem. So we need to get that. So if I were Pope, I would have that fixed. Get the actual Mass back on track, which is what I'm trying to point out here. Next page. Now, this one concerns the priests. New priests in the priesthood must be taught the Mass in Latin, read and speak in Latin fully and completely. All current priests and higher and senior members of the clergy must be retrained in the traditional Latin Mass and in the traditional Roman Rite. So, new students in the seminaries and current clergymen, even in priests, not only do new students need to be taught how to do the Roman Rite in Latin, but current clergymen and priests that are already in the church preaching need to be retrained on how to do the real Mass correctly. It's like I said, everything's got to be done in Latin. All the altars, they're like placed in the middle of the floor, need to be back against the wall. Again, they need to be taught how to do the Eucharist correctly by facing directly at the crucifix in front of them, facing directly at God in general. Not have the altar in the middle of the floor and looking directly at the people. You have to turn the other way around, look directly at the crucifix. I'm pretty sure those who attend the Latin Mass probably understand what I'm trying to point out here. Volunteers or lay people who are not ordained priests can no longer give the communion bread and wine to the parishioners. It is only the duty of the priests and senior clergymen to give the Eucharist. Okay, I'm pretty sure you all understand that in the Novus Ordo Mass. You have like these volunteers or certain lay people, whatever you call them, who are not even ordained priests, who have no authority to hand the Eucharist or do the communion rite. That's not their job. That's the job of the priest to do that. Only those within the church, the priests, other higher clergymen like the bishops, the cardinals, that's their job. That's their job to do both the Eucharist and the Mass, and to distribute the Eucharist, the communion bread, the body of Christ, to the people. That's their job. These volunteers you see like in the Novus Ordo Mass, that's not their job. They're not even ordained priests. That's not their job to give the Eucharist or do the wine. That's not their job. Once again, that's the job of the priest. The Eucharist must be placed only on the tongue, no longer in the hand. If you're a traditionalist Catholic, you attend the Latin Mass, you know how it's done. You get in front of the communion rail, which is where the steps of the altar is. You have to get directly on your knees with your tongue out and have the priest place the communion bread on the tongue. No longer in the palm of your hand and standing at the same time. No. Kneel in front of the communion rail, which needs to be put back in place also, because that got removed right after the ratification of Vatican II. That needs to be put back. Priests have to put the communion bread on the tongue of the parishioner when distributing it. No longer in the hand. That should be no longer allowed completely. Here's another one. Only boys can be altar boys at the altar. Now, in the Novus Ordo Mass, both boys and girls can assist the priest during the Novus Ordo Mass. No. Boys only, by all means. If you're a traditionalist Catholic like I am, you should know the reason why. Because when I go to the Latin Mass, I only notice only boys assisting the priest at the altar. In the Novus Ordo heresy, you see both boys and girls. Girls should have no part in this. So boys need to be the only ones to help assist the priest when doing the Mass in general. Next up, here's another one. If I recall completely, all Catholic Bibles will be in all languages, along with Latin translations as well. Catholic Mass missals will also be in all languages, along with Latin translations. So both the Bibles and the missals. Now, this is my idea. All Catholic Bibles, now they can be read in all languages, but also also have Latin translations as well. If you're willing to read both, if you're willing to read the Bible both in your own native language, like English, and also learn Latin at the same time. So you have one side in English, another side in one page with English translations, the other one in Latin. I do have a Bible that has both English and Latin translations, and it's a big, thick one. I'm pretty sure you've seen my last video on the Douay-Rheims Vulgate Bible, which is the Bible in English and also in Latin. So that's my idea for all Catholic Bibles, including the missals as well. You can have it both in English and Latin, or have it all in other languages, including in Latin as well. That's one thing that needs to be addressed, because if you're a Catholic, my opinion is, which I also believe, everything should be in Latin completely, if you consider yourself a true Catholic, because Latin has always been the dominant language within the Church even though it was the ancient language of the Romans at the time, right? Right at the time when Saint Peter and Saint Paul were preaching in Rome. So both Bibles and missals can be read in all languages and also in Latin. Is what I'm trying to point out here. Here's another one. Reverse the name of the office of the Congregation of the Doctrine of the Faith and back to the Holy Office of the Roman Inquisition. Now, when you hear the word Inquisition, you're thinking people accused of heresy or put to torture in order to get a confession out. Well, there'll be another thing I'm going to read next. We just want to. My idea is just to reverse something that should. To reverse one title of one office that should have not been changed a long time ago after the ratification of Vatican II. That title needs to be brought back, which is the Holy Office of the Roman Inquisition. So to make sure that doctrines are totally upheld, we need to have that brought back. Make sure that no heretical teachings are taught within the church, anything like that. Because whether the clergy or anybody else just need to be questioned in general about these doctrines of what they're trying to teach or preach. Now, bring back the Roman Inquisition to fight against heresy, heretics, and treason against Rome. Okay, I will admit, I would bring back the Inquisition because we're living in a dark, moderate world where certain heresies are just being allowed. And you know, at the Vatican II sect, one thing I noticed about the Vatican II sect, it's being allowed. It's allowing certain things. Even its teachings are known to be heretical when it comes to other religions or anything else that they're teaching and preaching in these false churches. Because Vatican II is not part of the Catholic Church. It is an end times church. It's just a false religion that's been infiltrated within the true church itself. Is what I'm trying to point out here. The Vatican II sect is not the true Catholic Church. It is like I said, Vatican II is an end times counter church. It does not embrace the true teachings within the Roman Catholic faith. In general, is what I'm pointing out here. It is not. Vatican II is not truly Catholic. The biggest call is to suppress and abolish all abortion, same-sex marriages, and all sodomy all over the world. We care about what's really true, what we've been taught within the Bible and church teachings, even historically. The terminations of the unborn within the womb, that needs to go away completely. That needs to be brought down. I mean, as Catholics, we want it to go away, but we need to fight to fully get rid of it. Same-sex marriages and sodomy also need to go away, because we notice countries all over the world, they're allowing it, and it's a shock, and it's just a total shock and a shame what the world has come to. That they will go against what Scripture has taught and allow this. So the church needs to start standing up and start fighting like a lion. Now, if I were Pope, not only do I want to be a loving and caring and holy, holy Father, but at the same time, I want to fight like a lion. Like I said in the beginning, I'm not trying to be arrogant, stubborn, or foolish or anything. This is just some thoughts I'm trying to point out here. Because I want to fight like a lion. Get the world to understand what some of the things they're having all over the world is wrong. Here's another one. Bring back the Roman Index of Prohibited Books. Prohibit the reading of anti-Catholic, Protestant, heretical, and political liberal books, or have them burned. That's another thing. Index of prohibited books that's been around for centuries, that needs to be brought back. Certain books that go against Catholicism, and books that promote Protestantism or any heretical teaching, or and this last part I just said, political liberal books that may contain anything anti-Christian, which no doubt, in my mind, they could contain anti-Christian opinions. Even atheist books, I would have them prohibited, or anything that, or have them burned in general. Is what I'm trying to point out here. But there are books that need to be prohibited from reading. Anti-Catholic books, Protestant books, heretical, or anything political that may contain anything anti-Christian or anti-Catholic, that needs to be put to a stop or destroyed, is my opinion. But I would bring it back, which is what I believe in. Now, here are some of the big ones. If any priest that is discovered to be married is expelled and excommunicated from the church, and if a woman is discovered to be a priest, is expelled and excommunicated from the church too. Okay, if you're going to enter the priesthood, your main goal for life in the priesthood is celibacy, chastity, I would also say. And if you're so if you're going to enter the priesthood, you cannot get married within the church. So if I were Pope and I find out that anyone is discovered to be married, you're expelled from the church and excommunicated from the church. No excuses. I know there have been calls to allow women within the priesthood. I'm not trying to sound sexist here or anything like that. We all know why women can't be priests. We all know the reason why. Even the church has been very, very serious about this. That it's always been within since like going back to the Bible days. We've noticed that only men can have been preaching, even historically, saying also, which I'm just trying to point out, that women cannot. Even the Bible does mention one verse that I forget what verse. Sorry for sounding foolish. I'm just trying to remember, but it's better. It's women can have any say but to remain silent and to listen to what a preacher is trying to say. Is what I'm trying to point out here. I know I have that verse written down, but I'm pretty sure you all know what I'm trying to point here as well. But it's always been men who have been priests for a long time, but we all know for a fact that women within the Catholic faith have no interest in being a priest as well. Even though some do in general, but people just don't understand why women cannot be priests. What I'm trying to just trying to simply point out here. That's all I'm trying to say. I'm not trying to be foolish. I'm just trying to give up what I'm trying to say here. If I were the Holy Father, that's plain simple. So I know a lot of women in the Catholic faith don't want to be priests, but even though some do, but just don't understand why. However, women within the Anglican faith or other Protestant churches have a lot of women in their churches to become deaconesses or preachers as well. Here's another one. This is another big one. If any priest or any senior member of the clergy are discovered to be caught up in sex abuse scandals on children and covering them up, they are to be interrogated by the Roman Inquisition and hereby expelled and excommunicated and handed over to the secular authorities along with evidence. The church, however, will not pay for psychological damages done to the victims. The ones who are expelled and excommunicated from the church are the ones to pay for the damages. The the ones who committed and covered up to child sex abuse crimes. So this has been another issue I want to cover up, because this has been plaguing the church for some time. With these sex child abuse scandals. I know it's plaguing the church right now, so this is my idea. Any priest or anyone in the clergy who's committed these acts and has covered them up, you will be interrogated by the Inquisition. We find out you did commit these acts, and of course commit any act of covering them up, you're going to be expelled and excommunicated and anathematized from the church. Any evidence we discover, my opinion, it should be handed over to the secular authorities, otherwise to the police. And then let them be charged for any child sex abuse crimes and molestation. And as I also pointed out, the papacy will not pay for any psychological damages that has been that has, I'm trying to find the word, affected children in general. So the ones who caused all the damages, I'm going to feed them to the wolves, is what I'm trying to say here. So if any priest or any senior clergyman, which I know there are some that have done a lot of child sex abuse scandals and, of course, covering them up, you're going to be in a lot of trouble. And as I said before, if I were the Pope right now, the papacy will not pay for any psychological damages that have been inflicted on children, which I should try to say. Papacy will not go after the ones who did the damages. Go after them for whatever they have. The church will not. The church will not pay for any of this. Now, some may suggest I'm still considering of covering up the church's mess. No, those who have caused the damages, go after them. Let them pay for the damages out of their own pockets, whatever they've got. But they should still face jail time. The church has been caught up with this for a long time, and I'm not going to tolerate it, because since John Paul II, Benedict XVI, and Francis, they have done nothing. To me, I don't think they've done nothing. Benedict, on the other hand, Benedict XVI, now known as Pope Emeritus Benedict XVI, of course, he has done nothing. So, of course, I think he's part of the ring of covering up people who have committed these heinous acts towards children. So, again, the papacy would not pay for any. If I were the Pope, the papacy would not pay for any psychological damages inflicted on children. Go after the ones who have committed or covered up these child sex abuse crimes, because all that evidence will be given to the police and let them deal with them. Plain and simple is all I'm trying to say. Next one. If any priest or any senior member of the clergy is discovered to be a sodomite, is hereby expelled and excommunicated. Now, I understand there are members within the church itself, as for what I've been hearing for some time, might be homosexual. That's another thing. So if I were to discover that any members of the clergy or any priest in general discovered to be homosexual, sodomite, which is the true definition to say, you're expelled from the church completely and excommunicated and anathematized, I would also point out, which I should have put down in my notes. Because the church has been very strict with these kind of teachings for a long time, since the beginning of time, going all the way back to the Old Testament, and even all the way into the New Testament, and beginning with the papacy as well. So if you're a priest or any clergyman, like a bishop, cardinal, whatsoever, that's discovered to be a sodomite, you're out of the church. Not going to tolerate it. If I were the Holy Father, is what I'm trying to point out here. If I was the Holy Father. Restoring the papal states to central Italy, which allows the Pope to collect tax revenue. Now, for centuries, since I think like the 8th century, whoever was Pope around that time, the King of the Franks, gave the papacy many parts of central Italy to control, known as the Papal States. That gives the Pope not only the power to rule a church, but also be the ruler of central Italy, whatever territories that the Pope has, that allows the Pope to collect taxes. That's something that's been around for a long time. My opinion is to allow the papacy to have the Papal States once again under their control, to allow the church to start collecting tax revenue again. Because popes have collected taxes, and I know since the into the Renaissance era, the church at the time not only was at the height of its wealth, but also of its corruption. I mean, we've had a lot of corrupt popes throughout the Renaissance era. I know there's quite a couple. That would be Sixtus IV, Alexander VI, Leo X. I think Paul III would be another one. I mean, Paul III was a true pope, but I'm not sure if he was corrupt or not. But there have been some things said about him. But I believe the papacy should have the Papal States back and allow the tax again. And the last pope to have control of the Papal States was Pius IX in the late 19th century. Last pope to have the Papal States, but then it was taken away by him by King Victor Emmanuel of Italy. So now the Pope's tax revenue at the time was gone, and all Pope has to do is be boxed inside the Vatican. That's it. He was within his own little bubble inside St. Peter. So I believe the Pope should have the authority to collect taxes again, whatever the church needs in general. So therefore, I believe that the Papal States need to be brought back, is my opinion. Restore the Papal army in order to defend both St. Peter's, Rome, and all of Western civilization. Anyone from all over the world can join the Papal army as long as they are Catholic. Uphold the true faith and true tradition. Now, for centuries, the papacy has had an army before. And anybody says that the Pope does have an army, which would be the Swiss Guard. No, the Swiss Guard's only job is to protect St. Peter's from any kind of danger, but the papacy should be allowed to have its own army again. Anyone from all over the world can join, as long as they are Catholic and uphold the true faith and are willing to defend Christendom completely. Both St. Peter's, City of Rome, all of Western civilization. That includes Europe, the United States in general, or any parts of the world, wherever the faith exists. Those who are declared venerable, beatified, blesseds, and canonized saints by the Vatican II anti-popes will be legitimized by a papal bull by a true pope. So if I were to be pope, any saint or anyone that's declared venerable, a blessed, or a saint, I would legitimize them all under one papal decree that were declared by the Vatican II anti-popes. So those like, let's see, St. Padre Pio, Mother Teresa, or anybody else that was made a saint or blessed, I would make sure they're legitimized under a papal decree by a true pope. The Vatican II anti-popes, to me, their declaration to make someone a saint or anyone else of any title illegitimate. So those like I said, St. Padre Pio, or even Catherine N. Emmerich, who was made a blessed by John Paul II. I would Actually, I would make Catherine Ann Emmerich a saint, actually, because she did have revelations about seeing two popes in general, and that would be Benedict XVI and Francis. So I would elevate her to sainthood. Mother Teresa and Padre Pio, I made sure that their canonizations are declared legitimately. Here's another one. Here's one that should be taken serious as well. Ordered an investigation into the 1958 conclave that got Cardinal Angelo Roncalli, who became anti-Pope John the 23rd. If proven that the communists and Freemasons were involved and messed with the 1958 conclave, the pontificates of anti-popes John the 23rd, Paul the 6th, John Paul the 1st, John Paul II, Benedict the 16th, and Francis are illegitimate and invalid. Since we all know, as traditionalist Catholics, we believe that there was infiltration within the church, that Masons and communists got involved. Whatever happened behind closed doors in the 1958 conclave that got John the 23rd elected. And here's another thing. And therefore, the canonizations of anti-popes John the 23rd, Paul the 6th, John Paul II ought to be reversed. So I don't know if it's possible to reverse the canonization of sainthood from some of these anti-popes. But if possible, then I would reverse them, because their elections from 1958 and so on with Francis are declared illegitimate and invalid. Therefore, the canonizations of John the 23rd, Paul VI, and John Paul II, I would have them reversed. And the same thing with their pontificates, because we all believe that Pope Pius XII was the last true pope to hold the papal office and the seat in the chair of Peter. So even though Francis is in Rome, in the Vatican, he's not really the true pope. Therefore, even though he's sitting on the chair of Peter, technically, it's still up for, well, not vacant, but I'm sorry. Well, it's still open. Is what I'm trying to say. So the chair of Peter is still open to be taken, but Francis has no right to be on that chair. So he's really not occupying it, since he's not a legitimate pope. The Freemasons, who have been a problem to the Catholic Church, been wanting to destroy the Catholic Church, and a problem to the world, need to be brought down and destroyed for good. The Masons for a long time have been a thorn in the Catholic Church. They need to be brought down. As if you're familiar with papal history, in 1738, Pope Clement XII declared any Catholic who joins the Masons is excommunicated completely. I, on the other hand, want to bring them down. I want to bring down Freemasonry. That has to be stopped, because we know it's a plague to the world. It needs to be stopped fully and completely. So I want to destroy the Masons and any evil organization that the church wants to condemn and get rid of. There's a lot there. Okay, here's another one. All prayers in the Rosary must be recited and said in Latin. So if you're a Catholic, and a devout Catholic, all prayers, including the Rosary, should be in Latin. That should be the right way within the Catholic faith. If you're Catholic, all prayers in the Rosary need to be said in Latin, and at least the time to also practice learning Latin to make sure you say it correctly and properly. So yes, all prayers in the Rosary need to be said in Latin if you're a true Catholic. This is the last one. Call for serious reforms in the Church after all collateral damage caused by the Second Vatican Council. I believe there needs to be reforms within the church itself. We need constant reforms to get the church back on track again. Because right now, Vatican II has caused a lot of damage. So, even if I were Pope, I can't do it on my own. I know I'm going to need help. Anybody that can give me advice, that's all I'm trying to point out here. So these are my suggestions if I were the Holy Father. So, again, from the beginning, I'm not trying to be arrogant, foolish, stubborn, whatever. I believe that the church needs to be brought back to true tradition because Vatican II is not tradition. It's modernism, and modernism is a plague, and it's evil, and it's dangerous. Traditionalism is the right way to go, is all I'm trying to point out here, what I have read. So tell me in the comments below, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, hit the notification bell beside for future updates. All right. Have a blessed day, everyone. Take care now. Bye.